We are live. I want to thank our viewers. We are going to be recording the episode 319 of the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition, here in just a few seconds. Our first thing we're going to be doing is interviewing George Hill. Then we've got the women from Second Amendment, New Jersey Second Amendment women, and then we'll get into the news and regular parts of the show. If you do want to ask questions, you can comment on the YouTube video, or you can go, if you're on Google+, you can go into the Hangout and hit the Q&A button, and we'll get the question right on the air. That's a lot faster than commenting on the YouTube video, because that I rely on getting email for, and that takes a minute or two. But we will try to answer your questions live as they come in. So we're going to be getting started here, and then we'll hopefully wrap up at a decent hour today. All right, ready to go in for the interview?
Mm-hmm.
Rob, since you set this one up, you want to bring us in?
It would work better if I hadn't closed that tab. Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
let me know when you're ready to go, and I'll start recording locally.
It's got to be here somewhere. We got a bunch of exactly. Okay, ready in 3.
Rolling.
Welcome back to George Hill. This is another interview segment of the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. George, it's great to have you back.
Hey, it's a pleasure and a privilege as always.
Thank you, George. We ask gun owners to be ambassadors for self-defense. You know, that's not unlike what you do every day at a gun range. You've instructed, you've managed ranges. Well, we're asking newbies to join the sport, and that means we're trying to set a good example for people that don't always know better. What about when there is no range? When you and your professional staff aren't around, then we have to pick up that slack. I'm not a range safety officer. How should a gun guy maintain both safety and fun when he takes somebody out, out back to shoot?
Absolutely, that's a good question, and it really comes down to some preparations. One important aspect that often gets overlooked when you got a group of people. I mean, everybody pulls up on the trucks, everybody's unloading. That's a great time. Gather everybody together before any guns come out and do the safety briefing. Okay, the safety briefing is really important. And here's why. You've got to establish boundaries, very specific boundaries. Okay, what is the far left you can aim? What is the far right? Where is the firing line? Do not go in front of the firing line. And then some other details. In case of an emergency. Well, first let's back up. Also, go over the firearm safety rules. The 4 golden rules of gun safety need to be reviewed in detail and discussed. Make sure nobody has any questions about the basics of firearm safety. Because if you're with a bunch of guys, maybe you don't know all of them. Maybe some of your friends brought some of their friends, and you don't know their experience. Maybe you've never shot with them before. So even if you have, though, have a quick discussion about those basic fundamental safety rules, and then go over responses. Okay, if something does go south, if something happens, somebody does make a mistake, okay, what are the responsibilities and who's going to do what? This is another important thing about safety. Where is the first aid kit? Where's the trauma kit? Who's responsible, or who's going to be taking lead on first aid? Who's going to be contacting EMS? What are the EMS response times? And when I was out in Utah, we were a fair good way away from the city. We could see the city off in the distance on the other side of the valley. So we had to have our EMS plans in place. So if we were out in the sticks a bit, we would plan to transport. That was the thing. We call EMS, let them know that we're coming, and we transport. We do everything we can do. And you have this plan in place ahead of time. Because if you wait, you don't do it, and something happens, everybody's in a panic, everybody's running around like chickens with their head cut off. In the meantime, your bud is now bleeding out.
Right.
Or somebody's shooting in the wrong direction, somebody, who knows, there's a myriad. We can go through all the what ifs, but you got to have everything in step before the guns come out and before guns get loaded and before anybody starts popping rounds. Uh, Things such as, when are you going to call a ceasefire? Things such as, okay, ranges are hot at intervals, and when are we going to be able to go downrange to set up or remove targets?
Mm-hmm.
So some basic outlines in the safety briefing will prevent people from getting butthurt about, hey, don't go down range yet and set up that target. Don't do that yet because we're still shooting. Have these intervals so everybody knows the rules of the game, and then everybody can play nice, and everybody's going to get along, and there's going to be no drama. So
I'm thinking of the newbies for whom all this is overwhelming. But at least if you break it out for them, they know who to ask.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then also with those newbies who want to try different guns, and the guns are there, you got to tell them right off the bat, okay, since you're unfamiliar with these guns, don't be just grabbing guns off the bench and trying to load them. We'll go over each of them, and we'll have a little class. And you can use this as an education experience for these guys. Let's have a little class on the AR-15 or the Springfield M1A or whatever interesting guns that you bring out, especially with the youth. Make it a learning environment for them instead of just random picking up guns, loading them, and blasting them. You set these boundaries during that safety briefing, and everything, the rest of the day, goes so much smoother. And also, here's an important thing in the safety briefing, and here's a pro-level tip for you guys. During the safety briefing, specify, okay, guys, when we're done with shooting, we're going to police the range. We're going to have guys, we've got a garbage bag, we're going to pick up all of our stuff, and we're going to pick up our brass, and we're going to make sure all the targets are down before we head off the range and go get tacos. Okay, you set that expectation at the beginning, so when everybody starts packing up their guns, nobody's trying to bug out and take off and ditch work.
Right.
Everybody knows that they're expected to help with the cleanup. And even if it's stuff that you didn't bring to the range, always leave that range better than when you got there. That's just a Boy Scout trick.
Amen. And if you bring people that are into reloading, you very rarely have to worry about picking up brass.
Oh yeah, they'll be vacuuming it up like Hoovers. That's true.
But it is a good expectation. Hi, I'm a new guy out here. Do I just shoot at rocks, trees, stumps? We shoot at targets. We've got bounds. We stop and start together. If I have a problem, this is what I do. And when we're done, we don't, throw our empties and run. We pick up.
Yep.
No, that's a lot. That's an important parameters for a new guy on the scene to know.
Exactly. And when you establish this at the beginning, at that safety briefing level, then you don't have to go and try to reestablish or create some structure later on. You've already created that structure at the beginning.
It keeps you from being a hardhead later.
Exactly. And like I said, it keeps people from getting butthurt about things.
Okay. Speaking of which, hey, Gary Doherty, do you have that blood pressure medicine with you there?
Always do.
Okay, George,
Yeah.
I just read an article about the EPA that said they wanted to control backyard barbecues.
Oh, man. I tell you what, the government has been overstepping their bounds so much, so far, so frequently. This is just getting ridiculous. This is getting out of hands. I tell you what, EPA, you can take my grill when you take my spatula from my cold dead grill. I'm not going to put up with this. I'm going to barbecue when and where I please, because I'm sorry, it's not in the Bill of Rights, but it's pretty much a given. You've got a God-given right to feed your family some good food, and that means grilled food.
From my barbecue-stained fingers.
Yes. Yes. From the black depth of my bag of charcoal. Whoa.
That was going to be my question because you're fairly well known for your barbecue and your grilling prowess. Does George Hill use gas
No.
and mesquite, or does he use old-fashioned charcoal?
Oh, who do you think I am, David Codria? Come on, guys. No, I use gas. Only use coal. I like charcoal. I like Kingsford, and I like Stubbs. I'm going to use charcoal whenever I can. I've been trying some of the lump stuff, the natural lump. A lot of guys talk about how great the natural lump is, but I don't know. I've really not had that great experience with natural lump. I like the briquettes because it's consistent. It's just like accuracy in shooting sports. Consistency is the key to good barbecue, and I'm going to get that consistency using some good old-fashioned briquettes. The Stubbs is awesome. The Kingsford, just a regular classic blue and white bag Kingsford. That's what I'm getting. It's the Glock of charcoal briquette.
So
No.
do you use
Oh,
do
go
you
ahead.
use the pre-soaked stuff where you don't have to add the lighter fluid, or do you go ahead and add the lighter fluid and all that too?
Matchlight? Get out of here with that stuff, man. No, no. You get a good chimney starter, and that's that. Just you put the charcoal in there. You put a fire underneath it. You can use a rolled up newspaper if you like, or you can use some fire starters of whatever type you want. But you use that. You light it up. You wait 5 minutes. Now, if you can't wait 5 minutes, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be barbecuing. Go get yourself some Hot Pockets, microwave that stuff, and get on about your business because you have no business in the backyard anywhere near a grill. Take that 5 minutes and drink a cold one. Talk to your friends. Get your preps ready for what you're going to grill. But take that 5 minutes, then you can dump the chimney out. You've got a nice hot grill going on. You can talk about your guns. You can talk about your safety briefing. Now, this is a great time to have that safety briefing while those charcoals are burning, and then you're going to have a nice hot grill. You dump out the coals. You put your cooking grate down, be it one of those Cray Court cast iron tops, whatever you got going on, and then you can start laying down the meat and doing your cook. But this preparation time is just as important as getting ready for a day of shooting. It's all about that nirvana. You got to enjoy this stuff. You got to take your time.
Okay.
It's like breaking that perfect shot.
Speaking of taking your time, we'll open no barbecue before it's time.
Exactly.
There's the wood smoke, there's the slow cooking, there's the marinade, there's self-basting with various seasonings. I mean, barbecue is like firearms. There's a lot of styles to it.
Well,
Where do you
that
fall?
leads to the major question now, George, that you're in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Vinegar or tomato?
Oh, hey, you're trying to get me into trouble here. That question answered the wrong way, depending on where you're at. You could get your man card revoked, or you could end up getting dragged behind a pickup truck. I mean, you never know. But you know what? I like them both. I like the Texas style. You get the nice red sauce on there. It's all good. It all depends on what you're in the mood for that particular day. But really, the vinegar.
I have to disagree. I go with Lexington style.
Hey, that's okay. We have a right to be wrong, and you can correct yourself. So here's an invitation. You guys can come by anytime, and we'll cook it up, and then you can decide. Like Fox News, we'll grill, you decide.
There you go.
Paul, do you want to do the lead in and have George do the quote of the day?
Yeah, let's throw to break fast so I can edit that, and then we'll do that quick.
Okay, you drive that part, okay?
All right. Well, George, I want to thank you for coming on. It's always fun to have you on, and man, we want to have you come back again.
Oh, absolutely, anytime. It's always a good time.
So before we do take off, then I need to ask if people want to know more about George Hill, more about You know what? Point out that you got a Facebook site. What is it? Grills and Guns or something to that effect?
Grilling While Armed. Now, you can go to Grilling While Armed on Facebook. You can go to grillingwhilearmed.com and get some of those delicious barbecue rubs that we've got going on there. But if you want to catch my latest opinions, it's either on Facebook or it's on madogre.com. MAD Shrek.com. So you can catch me there. But if you want to read something about what I'm barbecuing, usually I'm posting that up, letting everybody know I'm living a nice, large, happy life on Facebook. So that's where we post food.
Very, very cool. Well, hang on, everybody. We've got our next interview with New Jersey Second Amendment women coming up right after this.
Oh.
Awesome.
What? I was in a coma there. I don't know what happened there. My gun podcast turned into cooking, and I slipped. I don't know what the hell happened there. My question was going to be, before we went into sauces, what's your thoughts on the quick clot anticoagulant type stuff?
In a trauma kit?
Do you bring it?
Oh yeah, you got to bring all of your first aid trauma gear. You got to bring it. But my opinion of the quick clot stuff, that is the best thing that's happened since the boxer primer. If you're in a trauma situation, you're out in the boondocks, man, that literally really is a lifesaver.
Yeah,
that stuff works.
Well, yeah, even not the boondocks. I mean, ambulance is still 10 to 20 minutes away at the ranges that I go to, so it's not. I mean, I'm looking for a class this summer to take on that.
There's a lot of classes out there. I recommend highly you get a good quality trauma kit. Dark Angel Medical has some of the best. They're very available, and there's training classes on how to use those kits. And if you're taking gun classes, learning how to shoot people, it's a really good idea to learn how to save some lives too. Because, I mean, even if you don't get hurt or a friend gets hurt, if you're in a shooting situation, somebody's getting hurt, be it the bad guy or a victim. So you got to learn how to use that. I got certified as an EMT back when I went through my police academy.
Right.
And I've only taken a few refresher courses since, but man, you've really got to know. I mean, and it's not just for shooting; it's for other things. I was the first responder on 2 motorcycle crashes, where I had to give CPR to guys. Auto accident. One was a collision, and one the motorcyclist hit a deer. And yeah, so this stuff happens. That's the reality of the world. We prepare for the bad with the gun. We also got to prepare for the bad with the Band-Aids.
Right. Well, I have a first aid kit, and I am looking to expand upon that to the,
It's not very common, but if you happen to come across quick clot in a package instead of it already embedded in the
sponges.
Yeah, if it's just powder in a package, be extremely careful with that stuff. It's meant to absorb liquid and make a crust. That's what it's designed to do. If that stuff gets in your eyes, you go blind, and that's no joke.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to be careful with it. You got to know how to use it.
So, that's why it's not in my kit until I have a class. I mean, that's just makes sense. It's like carrying a gun without training. It's stupid.
Yep.
Most of what you can find now is already embedded in the bandages, and so you don't have to pour it on and all that stuff. But yeah,
right.
If you happen to come across somebody that has some of that, be extremely careful and do not let that stuff get into the general air.
Yep, absolutely. Right. Well, all right, guys, I got to run.
Can we take 30 more seconds of your time and cut this quote here quick?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Do you have it, George?
Yeah, I do. Tell me
Okay.
when you're ready.
I'm going to go ahead and hit record, and Just a second here. Make sure. Yep. I'll lead in. I'll throw to you.
Okay.
For this week's gun quote, George Hill was kind enough to go ahead and cut this for us. And George, what do we got?
Well, I'm George Hill, and our quote of the day is, "The only thing that stops evil men from doing violence is good men that are better at it."
Man, I love that quote. Hang on, everybody. We've got our interview with George Hill coming up right after this. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, George.
Thanks,
Thanks a
guys.
lot.
Have fun. Peace
Thanks,
out.
Josh.
See ya. Okay, let me, on my tablet, go over to Skype. I've never tried this. I hope it works.
Whoops.
Oh, we did a test call. It worked.
We interviewed Kathy,
Yeah.
but I've never called out to two numbers at once on my tablet. So
I've done it.
on your
ho,
tablet?
ho.
Oh, not on the tablet, on my Skype.
On the yeah. Give me just a second. I'm trying to get everything. There's the first. Okay. Now I got to go over to show notes so I can get numbers. 201. Whoops, not da. Da. Oomph. E. It's a good thing. I got a backspace key.
Ah.
Okay, I'm ringing the first number now.
There.
Hello?
Hi, Sandra.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
It's Rob. It's the whole crew here.
Yeah, and I want to make sure you know everything you say is going live out on YouTube right now. So,
Okay.
let me try to bring in. Oh, that won't work.
Yeah. So before you tell Anthony that he wears ugly shoes, I want you to think it through.
Well, he could see your shoes now, so.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Oh.
973 Ooh, E. Whoops. Ah. Uh-oh, I think I just put her on hold.
That's okay. You can join them.
She's still there.
Hello?
Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
Hey, Sherry, Paul Lathrop with the Polite Society podcast. Everything you're saying right now is going out over YouTube. We are live on YouTube. I think, Sandra, are you still there? No, Sandra's not still there. Oh, shoot. How do I do this? They show they're both online.
Did you have her muted?
Or click on her and say join with other call.
Let me try this. Goodness. This must be, I don't know that. I'm trying to bring Sandra and Sherry. Did I make it this time?
I'm here. Sandy's here.
Okay.
Yeah, Sherry?
Sherry, are you there? I don't have Sherry now.
You don't have Sherry, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Well, this is exciting radio.
I know, right? I'm going to have to hang up and try to do this one more way. I will be right back to you, okay?
Okay, you got it.
All right.
Glad this isn't live.
Well, it couldn't be worse than when we were trying to get Stephen Halper connected.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me see here. That was okay. So Sent. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I just, with the tablet interface, I don't know. Let's see here, and then. Doggone it. Yeah, we're gonna give me one more second. I want to. One more thing here. I'm probably going to end up doing is have them call my Skype in number.
Okay.
But
on my phone, I have a thing where I can click two people at once and then press the phone button in my contacts and ring them at the same time. Do you have something like that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Just trying to help.
I'm trying to look up. Oh. Okay, doggone it. This is just not working. Where is... I'm trying to find my damn number for Skype. Susan, could you look on the Facebook page? I made a post a couple weeks ago giving out that number. You want to see if you can find it?
The Flight Society page is.
Yes,
page.
yes. Because I can call them individually. It's just I can't figure out a way to join them together. Okay, 05. Let me go back to show notes. That's sharing.
$605.
Okay, 6. Let me get something to write on. 605.
You want to give that on the air?
Yeah, it's a what was it?
277
277
9473.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to go because I'm going to call individually and tell them to hang up and call that number. And that's about the only way I can get it done, so. Outgoing call to Sandra.
Holiday Inn.
I believe I dialed the wrong number. I was looking.
No. Wrong.
All right.
Holiday out in your case.
Exactly. Sandra, I apologize. I need you to take down a number. I'm going to need you to call into our call-in number.
Could you do that?
Hold on one second. Yeah, let me find a pen and pencil.
Okay.
The Bible. See, I'm really at the Holiday Inn. No, I'm just kidding.
I need a cigarette after all this.
Okay, ready.
Okay, area code 605
605
Yep, 277
277
9473. Give me about
9473.
right, and I have to call Sherry. Give her that number. So give me just a minute, and then I'll bring you. And then call that number.
I'll call you in like 3 minutes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, bye. You got it. Bye.
Now I should be able to call Sherry, and just when she calls back, join it in. I think. And we should be ringing. There we go.
Hello?
Hi, Sherry.
No, it's Sandy.
Sandy. Oh, jeez.
I'll call you back on that number.
Okay. All right. Thanks again.
Okay.
Bye.
You got it.
Oh,
You're not
wow.
having a good day today.
I am not. Technology is not my friend today. To our live viewers, if there are any left, thank you for being patient.
Hello?
Sherry.
Yes.
Yes, thank goodness. Okay, I think we've got a workaround. Sandra will be calling in a second, and I'll join the two calls. I think. I hope. And then we'll get going. For listeners, I deeply apologize for the long delay, and we will be getting going here in just a second. So how's everything going in New Jersey?
It's going pretty good here. We finally, I think yesterday hopefully will be our last snow because spring started on Friday, I believe, along with
now,
a nice snowstorm.
I've got incoming call. Let me try this.
And then you say add to call.
Did that work? Hello.
Hi.
Uh-oh. Now, I think I lost you. I think, are both of you there?
Say their names.
No, this is Sandy.
Sandy, you're there. Sherry, are you there? Sherry's not there. Damn it.
It's a family show.
Was that her?
Sherry, are you there? I think Sherry's on hold.
Okay.
Do either of you have Skype accounts?
I have Skype. Yes.
Okay. Can you add politics and guns? That's my username.
Politics and guns?
Politics.
Yeah, I'm on a
and
smartphone. Will that work?
It will. It'll take a minute, but it'll work. And then I'm gonna jump back over to Sherry, and I'm gonna hopefully she's got Skype, and if not,
Hold on one second.
Yep.
I'm not. Would it work if we did like a three-way call? Like if we call Sherry and then
that will work.
And I call this number.
That let me go. Yes, that will work.
I love her IT genius in the background.
I know, right? Okay, I'm gonna go release that other call so you can call her. So
I'm gonna call Sherry, put her on a three-way, and then I will call this number back.
Okay, that works. All right.
Perfect. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Hey, Gary, can you mute when you do that?
I'm your father.
No, you're a girl.
No, you're a girl.
You're breathing in my ear. What do you want me to say?
Everybody go down and read the email that we got.
I know.
For this week.
I did.
And by the way, that was Gary Harpster that he's talking about. I'm going to let John off the hook when we read that. Just waiting for them to call back. And to our 4 viewers, man, I am sorry. The next time you see me in person, I'll buy you a beer. We had more than that to start with.
I said one of those is me and one is Susan. And
I think Simon's watching today. I'm not sure.
Mr. X-Man Rules is a very patient, cooperative viewer. Said hi. Susan said hi back.
There we go. And do we have you guys both?
You do? Hang on. Don't worry. This is Sandy's friend. Hang on. I'm
Okay.
just going to make sure I've got Sherry on here as well.
You're the IT professional.
Okay, we should put it together.
Mhm. Sherry there. I'm here.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm going to bring your guys' level up a little bit. You're a little low. Can I have one of you count to 10 for me, please?
I'm sorry?
I need one of you to count to 10 for me, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. She's good on my levels. Can everybody else hear them?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Go over to the recorder then. And Rob, when you're ready, go ahead and bring us in. Just give me a 5-second warning so I can hit the recorder.
In 5. Welcome back to our second interview segment at the Polite Society podcast, sponsored by the Firearms Policy Coalition. We have the Second Amendment Women group with us. That's Sandra Muldoon and Sherry Spivak. Welcome back, ladies.
Hi, Rob, for having us again.
You guys have been really busy since we spoke to you a few months ago.
Yes, very busy. We've had a lot of, quite a few events.
Well, you know, I was reading through your schedule, and I was going, wow, you introduce women really to all the shooting sports. I mean, basic instruction in firearms, hunting, handgun competition, tactical competition, and just a social meetup once a month to, hey, any excuse will do to come out and practice. That's a lot to cover.
It is, yeah.
So, struggling to raise children and keep a job and do all that. Now tell us what you've done lately.
I think our most recent event that was the introduction to shooting for women, which I think we had talked about when we were on with you last, was fantastic, as it always is. We have a great group of women that came in this time, and the class that was supposed to run, I don't know, a couple hours, always goes over because there's so much interest and so many questions that Sandy and I actually are considering starting a whole nother class that doesn't even have shooting involved with it, just to give the women an opportunity to come and ask all these questions that they have about purchases and legal questions, although neither of us are attorneys, just to give them a forum for that, because it just takes so much time at the beginning of the class. It takes away from the time we can go shooting, and we want to be able to answer everybody's questions.
And the port.
Yeah, it was.
The shooting port is not a great classroom, is it?
The what?
The shooting port is not a great classroom. It's hard to ask and answer those kind of questions.
That's true. So we end up spending quite a bit of time in the classroom before we get into the range. We don't want to shortchange anybody with the time that we have for the shooting portion. So we've thought about just creating a whole nother hour and a half long introductory class to ask the questions before you even get to the shooting. It was obvious in the introduction class that there was you could easily fill up a few hours answering people's questions about how to fill out the paperwork, how to approach the police department, what forms do you need, what are the basic laws, and whatnot. So we decided to come up with a class that's just dedicated, to questions and answers like that, just basically getting started. People might not realize that we live in a little bit of a complicated state, New Jersey, when it comes to firearms purchases. The process of getting ID cards is a little bit different and a lot stricter here than it is in other states.
Well, your members had a great time.
They did, yes. We easily picked up 5 or 6 new enthusiasts.
That was your introductory class. Have you had other events?
We had the kids event, which was a real success. And, of course, our monthly meetups are always very well attended. Everybody brings their firearms. People get to try quite a variety of firearms. We have rentals. We have a rental of the month. And we have our anniversary, our 1-year anniversary next week.
Now, how many members do you have now? When you say, hey, folks, we're getting together, how many emails do you send out?
We use Facebook mainly for our communications.
Right.
Yeah, we have probably somewhere in the range of 40 or so, paid up memberships. We began taking memberships, I think, last June or July. And as we've gone along, there are people that will just come to the meetup or come to a class and then they'll say, oh, I really want to join. So we add to those every month. We've been adding more and more paid members every month. But
sure.
As far as just involvement, we have a real large number of people that participate in either the classes or the meetups and often bring their children as well.
Now, how are you going to celebrate your anniversary?
Well, we're gonna shoot, that's for sure.
More than cake and ice cream, huh? A little gunpowder.
Gun for Hire's letting us have the range to ourselves. We're having a potluck party, so everybody's bringing something, and we're gonna discuss the upcoming year, get an idea for what kind of classes people really want to see happening. We at this point we've had quite a few introductory classes, so we kind of have a need to put some more intermediate and advanced classes in, and basically just get feedback, and we're going to have an opportunity to sign up. We're going to have some giveaways, and we're encouraging people to show up at the anniversary party and sign up. We have our first T-shirts coming out. People have been asking for T-shirts, so we have our first Proud and Strong SAW T-shirt will be available. And we have our, speaking of classes that are a little more advanced, we have our shotgun refresher class that's coming up. I believe it's April 14th. Yes.
You also have something called a Spartan race coming up. Tell me about that.
It's basically, it's not really related to the firearms community. It's Spartan is all over the country. They have races in almost all the states. We're doing the New Jersey Tri-County Super Spartan, which is 8 to 10 miles with 25 to 30 obstacles. And Anthony from Gun for Hire, we're spearheading. We're going to have a pretty large team. We estimate 50 to 100 people. So we'll all be taking off at once. And it's not a charity event per se, but you can, donate the proceeds to a charity if you wish. We're gonna approach Wounded Warriors and see if they want to send some veterans that we can help get them across the finish line. Basically, it's just an opportunity for the firearms community in New Jersey. We have a lot to deal with, and we tend to be a very close-knit family. So it's a good opportunity to do something, all of us together. And we're going to have a food tent at the end and team shirts and just a lot of fun and good feelings and camaraderie.
Well, it's a chance for the public to see Second Amendment women in public as a team having a great time.
Exactly.
Where can our listeners find out more about you?
You can go to our website. It's sawshootingclub.com. We're also on Facebook. It's Second Amendment Women's Shooting Club -SAW is our public page. If you go to our website, the sawshootingclub.com, on the homepage, there'll be links to click through to our public Facebook page and our private discussion group that's on Facebook, as well as our Twitter, and I believe our Instagram is on there too.
I've had people that I run into and they go, "Oh, I wish there was a group like, our local group for my friend in another place." I mean, we all have friends in New Jersey, and this is a great way to keep them, when they ask us questions, we can refer them to you for follow-up.
Of course.
Well, and let's see, the next event was the shotgun. That's in mid-April. That means a little bit in late April. We've got to have you back.
April 14th. Sounds good.
Well, before we go here, we've got several comments on YouTube that I want to get to quick before we let you folks go. The Bear Arms Show, good friends of ours, the Willett brothers, said the Second Amendment women rock, which, cool. Simon says, Anthony and the staff at Gun for Hire are great to work with when it comes to Second Amendment groups and causes. I couldn't have had any event without them. And then the Bear Arms Show says, darn it, guys, got to go. So I hope they caught us getting to their comment on the air. But thank you, ladies. We've had some technical, for those that listen on the podcast, we had a lot of technical difficulties getting you guys in. But thank you both for sticking through those technical difficulties and coming on the show today.
Well, again, thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
All right, we're going to go ahead and step aside to break. Then when we come back right after this, we've got our DGU segment, and we'll get to that segment right after this. Okay.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you, ladies, very, very
Thank you.
much. I am so sorry we had those difficulties.
That's okay.
Now you know how we make sausage. It's not pretty.
Take care.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, and we are clear on Skype. Okay. Let me pull up sound.
I got to step away for just a second. I'll be right back.
Yep. Because we're on YouTube, I have to say his screen name. Mick Swagger just texted me. Susan, you know who that is, right?
Okay.
And but Mick just texted me and said, "Hey, I'm listening. You can buy me a beer when I get back home in May."
You got it, Mick.
So yeah, just Mick, when you get up here, text me again. I'm pretty much just in town on the weekends, but if you're in town over weekend, dude, I'll certainly buy you a beer. Okay. Let's see. I just want to make sure all the YouTube stuff has been covered, and I believe it has.
Oops.
Okay. Yeah, we're all good on that part. And I think we are ready to.
What order do you want to do the personal news?
Just in the order they're in the
Okay.
in the show notes on. So Rob, Gary, John, and me. Okay, and make sure, yep, everything's ready to rock and roll. Here we go, coming back in 5. Hi, and welcome to the Polite Society podcast, presented by the Firearms Policy Coalition. We're recording this one live on Sunday, March 22nd, 2015. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm John Richardson, and we'll talk about B. Todd Jones stepping down as director of the BATFE.
I'm Rob Morse, and in one of our DGUs, a disabled veteran defended a pregnant woman.
I'm Gary Doherty, and we'll also talk with George Hill about range safety instructions. So climb aboard.
Strap in.
and hang on.
Episode 319 of the Polite Society podcast starts right now. Hey, and welcome back. Well, let's go ahead and kick off our personal news segment. Rob, you're up first, man.
It's been a busy week. Dry practice, gun shopping, and shooting. I think my student, or the person I'm enabling, helping spend her money, has made a decision. She'll probably buy on Tuesday. I went to our county chapter of Gun Owners of California. We have our annual meeting coming up, and this next Saturday we're taking another 20 medical personnel for their first shoot event. I took a class for non-resident CCWs out of state and helped Ken Blanchard with an episode Tuesday morning. I interviewed Rachel because she's just running around like a crazy person, and that's about it.
Oh, gosh, you sound pretty busy.
It's been a workout.
Though I got to say, the work that you're doing with the medical professionals, introducing them to shooting, I think is really good outreach.
You know what I found out? There's obviously a doctor. There are several doctors in different hospital organizations that are asking their colleagues if they want to come shoot. And then once that word spreads, I think we've got over close to 100 people on a waiting list.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow, that's great.
Yeah, it's going to be a monthly event for the rest of the year, it looks like.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, in Southern California, man, you got the weather for it.
It's an indoor range.
Well, then that would be good in Fargo, North Dakota, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we don't have to dig out the parking lot. True there.
All right, cool. Gary, you're up next, man. What's been up with you?
Gang, I am physically ill. Earlier this week, the middle of the week, I saw a video that's been kind of going around social media now. It's a fake gun store that was supposedly set up in New York City. People looked like might be actors went into the store to find out information about getting a gun for self-defense. The clerk, who has already outed himself as an actor on Twitter, proceeded to claim that every gun looked at was the actual gun used in a horrific tragedy. He held up what looked like an AR-15, said it was from Sandy Hook. He held up a semi-automatic. He said it was from the Walmart mother who was shot by her child. Then these, once again, I questioned customers, were interviewed after they left the store and decided not to purchase the best tool for self-defense, and they seemed unaware of the negative incidents involving firearms mentioned by the clerk. Of course, there was no mention of the positive uses, depending on which research you believe, between 250 and over 2,000 defensive gun uses every day. Even a diehard gun control advocate with any principles and common sense would have to admit that this fact must be given some weight. So, fake store, lie. Fake clerk, lie. Fake guns, lie. Guns used in crime, lie. Maybe fake customers, lie. Safety training, lie by omission. Defensive gun uses, lie by omission. If you have to lie to make your point, you don't have a good point. I've said it before, and I believe it bears repeating. We must only speak the truth in this argument. Piece of fact.
Amen.
With a total of 11 homicides and 39 additional people shot and wounded since last Sunday in Chicago alone by bad people, how can any rational person think that scaring good people from getting a gun will save a life?
I think
you
the
put
problem
the words
is
together in a pretty pattern and lie to them?
Either that or they're not rational.
Ah, there you go.
By the way, this video, there's a link on the show notes. It doesn't matter if you go now. When I saw it in the middle of the week, it had 100,000 views. It is now almost up to 3 million. So the word is out on this video. There's talk of some lawsuits because the firearms are claimed to have been fake guns, but even fake guns that look like real guns in New York are illegal.
Yeah, AR-15 of any variety, I don't think is going to fly inside New York City.
Yeah, it'll all. I mean, it's unbelievable. It'll all come out in the wash, and it'll be buried by the media and the government, and everybody will pretend like it didn't happen. Yet there's hundreds, maybe thousands of people that have seen this video that are now, once again, going to remain defenseless and think the government is going to protect them. Which,
let me ask
no,
this:
they're not.
How many of those millions of views do you think are people like you and me that watched it just because we knew we were going to get torqued at it?
I agree with that. Who knows? I don't know what that number is. Half? That means that 1.5 million people
are angry.
Are angry, and another 1.5 million people are rethinking their personal protection decisions. And I don't see how that helps anybody.
Yeah. I would totally agree with that, totally and completely. Anything else you want to add that on the catch-up segment here that you've done since last week?
Got the safe delivered.
Cool. All 750 pounds of it?
You betcha. Wow, it came in smooth. I thought they'd take the door off to reduce the weight. These guys, looks like they tossed it and landed on the stand that I built. That we built. It was nice. Yeah, it's nice. Got to fill it.
Very, very cool. Well, John, man, you're up next. What's been up with you?
Well, I had coffee on Friday with Dr. David Yamani of Wake Forest University. He's a sociologist doing research on gun culture 2.0, and he has a gun blog by the same name. And yes, I did say a gun blog. He is a Mag 40 graduate, among other things, and we're going to have him as a guest on a future podcast to discuss his research into gun culture 2.0. He actually had received a grant from his university to facilitate the research, which I thought was pretty cool. Other than that, I registered for the NRA's annual law seminar to be held at the NRA annual meeting. I figured I'd been to SHOT Show, I saw a lot of the new stuff, so perhaps it'd be better to put aside a day for education. So that's what I'm going to be doing on Friday of the NRA annual meeting, which is coming up much quicker than I thought. And speaking of New York and ARs, I had purchased an older Colt upper, no barrel, just the upper itself, from a guy on ARFCOM, AR15.com. I didn't realize he was in New York until I received it. And I'm wondering if what he's doing now is parting out an older AR due to the New York SAFE Act. I would hate to see that that's what he's having to do. I got a good upper, and I'm very happy. But, that would be kind of sad.
You're not very happy? Is that what you said?
I'm happy I got a good price, but I'm kind of sad that if he's having to part out a gun that he's had for years due to the New York SAFE Act to be in compliance with it, which would really suck.
John, can you give me a little synopsis on the gun culture 2.0? I've heard the term, I've seen some stuff, but I'm not really sure what that means exactly.
Well, let me start by saying and it was a term that was made up by Michael Bain. Gun culture 1.0 is people who grew up hunting, their parents, primarily their dad, introduced them to shooting. You started out with a .22. You moved up to centerfire rifles or centerfire pistols. And guns had always been part of your life. By contrast, gun culture 2.0 are people who came to guns later in life. They didn't come to it by hunting. Rather, they're coming to it by recognizing the need for self-defense, and that a firearm is one of the better tools to use for your own personal self-defense. A lot of the speculation about, for example, the Ruger LCP, tiny little concealed carry pistol. The sales were driven in part by gun culture 2.0. People who wanted a gun for self-protection. I think it also being that it's a little too, they thought being small it would not be as hard to carry and probably wouldn't kick as much. I would disagree with that, but nonetheless, it's people coming into the concealed carry movement it's people like Rachel who came late to guns, people who had different ideas and now are recognizing, hey, I want to protect myself. I don't want to be raped. I don't want to be mugged. And a firearm is the way to do it. So that's pretty much the difference. People who came later to gun culture, mainly looking for self-defense or personal protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I would consider myself gun culture 1.5. I've been around it my whole life, but my primary reason for owning firearms right now, even though I own a hunting rifle, I spend 90% of the time I do around firearms with the self-defense aspect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I did bodyguard work carrying at a very young age, and then didn't carry for, didn't carry. I had a gun in the car when I was a chauffeur, but then when I got out of that, I didn't carry for a long time, and then after I moved to Vegas, that's when it was just for boating in Illinois. It just wasn't something you considered a possibility unless you were doing it illegally, and so then I got kind of into it 6-7 roughly years ago, and I guess I'm late. I don't know. I guess I'm 2.0, 1.75. I don't know.
All right. Well, that just leaves Susan and I. Susan, man, you had a busy week. You worked a ton of hours this week.
I worked 46 hours this week.
Yeah, that's a lot for your part-time job.
Yeah, it is. Just a few.
So, not a lot going on around the Lathrop household. I was interviewed yesterday on Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns. That actually got a message from Matt that episode just went live as we were starting to wind ours up and get ready to record this. So, and that was an hour of talking, and it wasn't all guns. We talked a lot about net neutrality. We talked about machine guns. We talked about a bunch of stuff.
You should have discussed your telephone interface with them so we knew how to do it. Okay?
Well, yeah, it was.
Matt, be expecting a call from him later tonight, so you can figure that out. Okay.
And no, we've got it handled now. It's all good.
Yeah, it went live a little bit before that because I did listen to it. It went well. It was very good.
Oh, thank you. We interviewed Doc Wesson also yesterday. John and I did. That one was about body armor and other things. We even got barbecue on that one too.
Yeah, we did.
Well, that was after the interview, though, wasn't it? Or was
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. I know we talked about it at length. And then as far as firearms-related stuff, I am wearing my Python gun belt from Concealment Solutions. That came in the mail this week. Yeah, I've been told forever, and I want to thank Kathy Jackson, who was the first among many to tell me to get a specific belt made for carrying guns, designed for carrying guns with a good deal of stiffness. I've been told that for a long time, and finally actually got it done. And I got to tell you, after carrying for, well, this is Friday, Saturday, so 3 days now, I cannot believe the stability that I am getting carrying both inside the waistband and outside the waistband with a gun belt. And I don't have enough experience with a whole bunch of different types of gun belts, but I can tell you, if you're looking for a gun belt, talk to Jason. What I've got that he didn't have for a long time, I've got a horsehide and leather gun belt. The horsehide provides the stiffness, and it does not have, it's not the Kydex gun belt. I decided to go against that because the horsehide and leather will last forever. Kydex is known, even though Jason warranties them forever, they're known to crack occasionally. And so I just thought go with, my personal choice for a firearm is Glock because of their extreme reliability. So I went with horsehide because of its extreme reliability. If listeners, if you do want a horsehide gun belt, he's got some horsehide, but get on it because he doesn't have a ton of it. So go over to concealmentsolutions.com. And by the way, just because he's a sponsor, and yes, I'm pumping a sponsor, if you enter the promo code POLITICS in the promo code box at checkout, you get 10% off your order. So I do want to, as we head off to break here, I need to mention we've got 2 classes coming up this summer. Bob May and Ben Branham are coming up May 16th and 17th. That's Beyond Concealed Carry Enhanced. That one is it's going to be a sellout. If you don't want to be on the waiting list and hoping somebody cancels, you need to get on this quickly. It is a $350 class for 2 days. You're going to shoot over 500 rounds. You're going to be moving and shooting on the first day. This is not your average beginner's gun course. This is for those of you that know what you're doing with guns but need to know it better. The second class we've got coming up is going to be on August 16th, the 15th and 16th. Kathy Jackson's coming up to do her Cornered Cat class, co-ed class. If you want to get involved in that one, and she's also going to be doing some advanced stuff. There's going to be 2 relays on that one. The first relay is for beginners, and she's going to be basically, if you have only fired a few rounds out of a handgun in your life, as long as you've got a reliable handgun, couple magazines, you can get involved in that class. However, if you've had some experience, she's also going to be teaching advanced stuff to the second relay. And that one is going to be August 15th and 16th. If you want to get involved with that one, email Susan at politicsandguns.com. She'll get you all taken care of and let you know what everything you need and how to get registered and all that. So we are going to go ahead and step aside to break here. When we come back, we've got news, and we've got a ton of it. We'll get to that news right after this. Okay, we're clear.
Let somebody talk once in a while.
Why?
I was gonna jump in on the belt discussion. I was gonna jump in on the Kathy Jackson class discussion.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I have a problem getting a word in edgewise too around here. So.
I could interrupt. I just don't want to interrupt. And he just
interrupt.
Interrupt. It's the only way you're gonna get through to him.
All right.
Susan has a thing she does. She throws things at me, and that gets my attention.
Or I kick him under the desk.
Yes, but yeah, just interrupt, guys. I'm sorry. I get on a roll, and we were well over 15 minutes. So
blah blah blah. I was going to reinforce the belt. I have a Kydex sandwiched between 2 leathers, and it has a lifetime guarantee, like you said. So.
Yeah, I just figure. Why were? Yes, it's got a lifetime guarantee, and Jason's has a lifetime guarantee, but why you're not going to break horsehide? Period.
I want unicorn hide.
There you go.
Dragon.
Dragon hide. Dragon hide. Oh. But you would agree with me, Gary, right? That the stability you get off a very stiff gun belt, it just can't be beat.
I couldn't agree with you stronger if I would have had the chance to. Absolutely, it's night and day difference. I mean, most of my students do not come ready for those types of, being carriers. More than half don't have, they don't have holsters, so they don't have belts, and they struggle just with the holster work that I have to teach them, because everything's flopping around. So I mean, that's at the minimum, and then just the difference between a regular leather belt with a good holster that you're used to carrying and an actual gun belt. Once again, night and day.
Well, let's. If you guys don't mind, can we start the conversation off with that when we go into news?
Sure.
Okay, and then Rob will go. We'll get into your rant comes first, right? Into news.
Sure, if we want. So we're going to do Horsehide and then say, Rob?
Well, I'll make it good. Trust me.
No,
I'll make it good.
Yeah, put in notes, Rob. I forgot what I was going to say.
All right, here we go. Coming back, and I'm going to bring us in. 5. Hey, and welcome back to what was supposed to be the news segment of the Polite Society podcast. I got told on break that I talk too quick and don't leave anybody room to get in at words edgewise, and I don't know where they'd come up with that, because I always give people a lot of time to get it.
Stop.
Yeah. Okay.
Gary, go, quick.
I was just going to strongly reinforce what you're saying about a good gun belt for your holster. I use both, and the difference between my regular leather jean belt and my gun belt is night and day. It's so significant. It's something you have to experience. It doesn't seem like it. It increases the balance, increases the stability. The gun is always where it's supposed to be when you're practicing your draw stroke. 100% back that up.
Yeah, I just in my dry practice I've been doing yesterday and today, am just blown away.
Yeah,
at how good this is.
Right.
So, now you said you wanted to mention something about Kathy Jackson. Is that? Am I?
Oh, I was just asking about the class. You said you were talking about 2.
She breaks the class up into 2 relays, and the first relay is going to be for beginners, for people that are brand new, and Susan's raising her hand, although she's not on camera, so you can't see it. The people that are new to firearms and just getting their way around. The second relay, we're going to be there's going to be, it's the same course, but she's doing harder challenges for the people that are in the second relay. If you've got some experience with firearms, she's going to be throwing challenges at you that will test your abilities more than the beginners. And so the people both brand new and experienced will get something out of the class.
Great. That sounds like an excellent plan.
So, all right, that is carryover, and I apologize to everybody for not taking any breaths and just charging off. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the news segment here. Rob, we're going to kick off with you. What have you got, man?
A little bits and pieces I just swept into a pile that I've stolen from many of the articles we're going to cover later. We've had emails from listeners who called themselves pro-gun Democrats. I mean, I'll believe them. I'm not going to tell them they're not. You can call yourself anything you want. But I can't help but notice how Democrat politicians have voted to deny our right of self-defense over and over. That's why I'm asking our listeners who call themselves pro-gun liberals or liberal Democrats to tell me about Democrats who voted for our rights when their vote made a difference. That last part's important because there's a political game I've seen politicians play. In fact, if we've looked at Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid when they ran the House and the Senate, they'd let Democrats vote pro-gun once the speakers knew that the vote wouldn't matter. So that's why I ask you, where are those pro-gun Democrats that I've heard about? Where are they when it counts? We can't count Senator Joe Manchin, who spoke against constitutional carry, and we can't count Governor Earl Ray Tomblin of West Virginia, who vetoed constitutional carry. We can't count the Democrats in the Virginia legislature. Not Democrat Governor Jay Nixon of Missouri, not Democrat Attorney General Kathleen Kane of Pennsylvania, not Democrat Senator Harry Reid of Nevada. I don't see any Democrat senators standing up and voting against U.S. Attorney General nominee Loretta Lynch. I don't see so-called pro-gun Democrats protecting our rights, not in New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Hawaii, or California. Laura Carno talks about pro-gun Democrats, and I hear about that they might exist in Colorado, particularly the Colorado House, but I want to see their votes when it counts. What do I hear? Yeah, crickets. To be fair, there are hypocrites in the Republican Party as well. We can't get rhino legislators or the Republican governor in Tennessee to support the right of self-defense, let alone the Democrats. Thanks, guys. I feel better now.
Okay. I've said for a long time personally that there are pro-gun Democrats. They just need to be more vocal. And there are anti-rights Republicans, and they just need to go away. But
yeah, same tune, different key.
Yeah. We all need to be more vocal. The encouraging part to me is, and I believe we got this in a news story coming up, 310,000 of us made our voice known to the BATFE.
Right.
And that's, when you compare that to what they usually get for federal requests for comments, that is gargantuan.
Yeah.
And so that's encouraging, but we need to make that work at the ballot box, not just when we think our rights are immediately threatened.
Yeah, this conversation has come up before on the show, and again, I have to stand up for my Democrat legislatures in Illinois who have fought blood and sweat to bring concealed carry to the 50th state, to bring the last state online with concealed carry and the right of self-defense. It was Democrat legislators. I mentioned. I'm blanking on his name, but he's been fighting for 10 years, and unfortunately, my two senators, one Democrat, one Republican, are both so far anti-gun, even though, and I should have looked that up because there's my anti-gun Democrat Senator Dick Durbin, I believe that's correct, name was on some gun safety thing, and I didn't delve into that farther. I should have. I'm sure it was just fluff, but yeah, you're 99% right. I just have a few guys here in Illinois that are really fighting for me, and I have to stick up for them.
Gary, the name you're looking for is Representative Brandon Phelps.
Yeah, that's the guy.
From Harrisburg, which is in southern Illinois, southeastern Illinois, I believe.
It's way south. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you almost Indiana?
No,
almost
hey, you almost Kentucky.
Almost Kentucky.
Almost
yeah.
Kentucky.
But he has been fighting intelligently, and It was his back that carried that across the line 100%.
We're going to talk about iGold. We'll talk about it some more then.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and get into the real news segment then. And not that anything we have been talking about now isn't news, but I'd consider that almost a rant. I would consider that a rant, actually. So, Susan, we've got our first news story come up. What you got?
In a statement to BATFE employees and agents, BATFE Director B. Todd Jones confirmed that he is resigning. In little more than a week, he'll leave the Obama government for the private sector. Deputy Director Tom Brandon will serve as interim director of the controversial agency. Jones's abrupt resignation comes a month after the ATF announced a ban on the popular M855 green tip 5.56 ammunition. That overreach ignited a firestorm of protests from the NRA, SAF, Congress, and millions of gun owners. The ATF publicly backed down, embarrassing the Obama administration. Jones then announced before a Senate committee that all 5.56 ammunition was a problem, further inflaming the gun rights community. Apparently that level of openness couldn't be tolerated, and the 3-year director had to go. Jones is reportedly heading to the NFL, where he will once again have ample opportunities to fumble.
Well, I'm going to disagree that Jones left over the M855 debacle. He's going to be the investigative counsel for the NFL. And to get a job like that, he was talking to them, my guess, no less than 6 months. And the New York Post today is reporting that the NFL sought him for their investigative counsel to run their personal conduct policy. In other words, to keep bad boy players under control. And will be paying him, quote, several $1 million, unquote, a year.
If the M855 had anything to do with it at all, I think he may have been canned because he did back off it.
Yeah, Paul, I was just wondering that question. Did they fire him because he started it or because he didn't finish it?
I don't think it's either. I think he was unhappy and looking to leave anyway.
That could very well be.
When somebody's going to say, okay, we're paying you $175 a year versus we'll give you $5 million a year.
Yeah.
And you don't have congressmen jumping on you every moment of the day.
No, but you probably have team owners doing that.
Well, that's true.
I'd rather have somebody jump on my back when I'm getting paid $5 million.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, he only has 32 of those versus 535 in Congress.
There you go.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Good point.
John, this reminds me, I had asked you last show or the show before about what price to wait for it to come down to before buying. And I thought you said $350 for 1,000? $350?
That'd be about right.
Okay,
and I ran it by some other people, and they said, yeah, that was pretty reasonable. Or a reasonable price. Not a great price, not a bad price.
Okay, we're still over 400 from what I've found. So, I'm waiting.
Buy little bits of it.
I want to interject one thing here before we go off to the next story, and that's a few weeks ago there was a story that hit the news that there were some Secret Service agents that got into a little bit of hot water when they got good and toasted and then drove into a fence, interrupting an investigation by the Secret Service outside the White House. And I was mentioning to Susan, and one of those agents, by the way, was on the president's protective detail, and I was saying to Susan, and this is what brought it to mind, if I had that job and I had to protect that family, you damn right I'd be getting drunk on a regular basis.
Yep.
Because from what I understand, they're not nice to the people protecting them.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
With the ATF's proposed bullet ban on their minds, gun right groups are making an effort to stop Senate confirmation of Obama's choice for Attorney General. The NRA alerted its members, warning that Loretta Lynch, with her close ties to the administration, would likely put gun rights at risk. Other activists are hitting the pens and phones to oppose someone likely to be Eric Holder 2.0. Lynch's support of Obama's lawless executive actions has troubled GOP senators, further eroding the candidate's chances. 4 Republican senators must add their votes to the Democrats in order to confirm Lynch. Now would be a good time to let your senator know your opinion of Loretta Lynch as Attorney General.
Amen to that.
Yeah, we need at least as many people to get in touch with their senators about Loretta Lynch as we did getting a hold of the BATFB about M855.
Yeah. At least one of my senators who is on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Tom Tillis, did vote against her. But then you have people like Orrin Hatch of Utah who voted for her. So people in Utah, give him a call.
Yeah, let that rhino know what you think.
Unfortunately, not all politicians respect the right to self-defense. West Virginia Governor Earl Ray Tomblin, Democrat, vetoed SB 347, which would have given the state's citizens the right to carry concealed without a government permit. Citing the old claim of putting public safety first, Tomblin scotched the bill. He did so over the 101 to 33 vote of the legislature. Supporters had argued the permit requirement, which includes mandated training and $100 fees, treads on Second Amendment rights. Delegate Mike Folk said Tomblin should have signed the bill and promises to bring the bill back next year. Many citizens hoped West Virginia would join the 4 states that currently do not require permits for concealed carry. Better luck next year.
And to our West Virginia listeners, better luck choosing your governor next time.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to take a special session of the legislature to override the veto, which they probably will not call, the expense, etc. From what I've read, doing some research on this, supporters of the bills, including Democrats, have said they will vote for it again when it comes up in the next session of the West Virginia legislature. I think there were only 3 people in the Senate that actually voted against it, so let's keep our fingers crossed for our friends in West by God, Virginia.
Huh. Amen. Amen. We're going to head off to break here. We've got some more news to do, and we will get to that news right after this. Awesome. Okay, we got I've got that clip, Rob. So just where do you want me to run that at? Do you want to come in and then run it? Come in, run the clip, and then go into the story.
How about we say listen to Jacqueline Kahn, who's a rape survivor, and then we put in the clip.
Okay.
Right there?
Yeah, and then we'll just I can take out the quote after it.
Yeah.
So actually we can go all the way up to the How about that?
Yeah, go.
Okay. All right. Here we go, coming back in 5. Hey, and welcome back. This is our second news segment. Susan, what's our first story?
This is not a game. The right to own a firearm is personal. Denying that right has a terrible cost. Listen to Jacqueline Kahn, who is a rape survivor.
Ms. Kahn, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to put the budget committee to go testify on a bill. I will be back, though.
Oh, wait a minute. You're going to miss me?
All right, I'll wait for you. You have a map. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Would rather you know. Before I show you the map, and maybe, do you mind? Thank you. I need you to know this is so incredibly difficult for me, but I feel like if I do not humanize this, if I do not make it clear how this legislation actually affects your daughters, your mothers, the women of this state, then it's all just a bunch of numbers. So let me make it clear. A man was arrested in my backyard with duct tape and scissors. I had never met that man, never heard his voice till I went to court. Now, I wish I could tell you that's the only time I've been stalked, or that's the only man who stalked anyone in the state of Maryland, but there's a huge number of women who, like me, have been raped, who, like me, have been sexually assaulted, and we want the right to be able to do what we would be allowed to do throughout the majority of the rest of the United States, which is, if we prove that we are not criminals, that we are law-abiding, that we are sane, etc., etc., see all the green states? They actually follow this thing called the Second Amendment. Now, here's the deal. I live in Maryland, and I know some women, they like to relax over the sounds of chatter in a cafe, the sounds of smells of coffee beans. You know, that doesn't work for me. My passion for Maryland is I love the wild horses at the beaches. I love the mountains of Western Maryland. So guess what? That means I like to go to secluded places. Well, guess what? One time I was in my tent asleep and a man came in. Why can't I have a firearm to protect myself? Why am I in that tent alone with a knife and a rock and some other weird objects? I'm an NRA instructor. I'm certified. I'm safe. I can teach other people to be safe. I can pass that test 125 out of 125. And yet my state does not grant me, SB 100, does not grant us the right to decide how to protect ourselves. Are you going to be in my neighborhood the next time this guy follows me home? Not too long ago, I was making photocopies late at night at Kinko's. The guy follows me home. Guess what? When I'm in my house, I'm allowed to protect myself, but walking along the sidewalk, I'm not. So you make me into a criminal. You force me to decide, do I want to be judged by 12 or carried by 6? What I want is for you to pass SB 100. What I want is the right to be able to live freely in a manner that allows me to self-protect myself. Now, I need you to know, it's not just about the women who live in Maryland. But I compete. I'm a competitive shooter. I compete in a variety of different states. You make it impossible for people who want to come from out of the state. And for the record, some of the firearms that I would like to be able to use, I'm not allowed to buy them because they're most popular sporting rifles that you all, or some of your people from last year, if you weren't here last year, have decided are some kind of dangerous rifle, and you call it an assault rifle. I want you to be logical about crime in the states. I want you to be logical about the Second Amendment, and I would like you to support SB 100 and honor women like me who want nothing more than the ability to choose where we want to be safe and how. I will be quiet in one more second. I am also very much in favor of SB 454. I am ashamed and embarrassed that Maryland is not on the state, and you should be too. I'm in favor of 326, 328 with the amendments to recognize Title 12 and 13, and 407. Do you have any questions? Because if not, I can't see how you cannot possibly not support SB 100.
Thank you, and it was good listening to you. Senator Norman.
Yes,
Very
sir.
quickly, I really appreciate your perspective. I didn't hear where you're from. What part of the state are you from?
I don't normally announce that,
Good enough.
but I will
Is that
send you an
because it's
email.
Self-defense?
What did you say?
Never mind.
It's because I've been stalked home on numerous occasions, and at this point I've just learned it's not wise. But I will be delighted to send you a personal email, and you can even come over for tea.
As stated, Jacqueline is also an NRA firearms instructor. She lives in Maryland, where it's illegal to walk to her car while armed. She testified before the Maryland Senate. Constitutional carry is worth it if it stops one single rape.
I want to apologize to listeners. There's some artifacts in there that I just could not filter out. The YouTube video, the audio was kind of poor on it, but her testimony was powerful enough. I wanted you to hear her voice directly, so that's why that's in there.
A Florida legislator agrees with Jacqueline Kahn. Florida Representative Michelle Vasalinda broke with her Democratic brethren and voted for a bill allowing concealed carry on Florida college campuses. The cause for her defection was very personal. She had used a firearm to defend herself when she was in college. In a moving speech before the legislature, Vasalinda described how she used a firearm to stop her rape in her apartment. She wants others to have the same ability, saying, quote, "I would vote for every woman to be able to have that tool if they so desired. The plain truth is campuses are not safe. They are gun-free zones where murderers, and rapists commit their crimes without being harmed by their victims. Only the victim has the chance to actually stop the crime." End quote. Representative Vasselinde should be commended for her principled stand. Rob, there's your pro-gun Democrat.
She is, and I owe her a message of appreciation. I also want to make sure that her vote made a difference.
Amen. I hope it did. I really hope it did.
Illinois Gun Owners Lobby Day was last week. Hundreds of citizen lobbyists flooded the Springfield Capitol in their bright yellow shirts. They supported legislation in the Illinois General Assembly that would allow concealed carry in places prohibited under current law, such as bus stations, churches, and bars. On the other hand, Illinois gun owners are particularly concerned about recent legislation supported by Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel. These bills include a handgun registry, HB 5831, and a tax on ammunition, HB 5167. Those bills passed out of a House committee. We have a link in our show notes to the online petition opposing the Illinois gun grab. Good work, Illinois gun owners.
We are fighting an uphill battle and trying.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, iGold is always on a Wednesday, which is a super heavy day for me. I can't get the time off to do that. I'd like to, but it's great that we have so many people that do go down there.
I've seen pictures. I haven't seen any pictures of this year's event, but it's a sea of gold T-shirts in previous ones that I've seen down there.
Yeah, less so
really
this year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Without
unfortunate.
concealed carry issue, I think attendance was down.
Yeah, the past 2 years it has been less, unfortunately, but.
The Right to Bear Arms Richmond, Virginia organization suffered a tragic loss when 4 of its members were killed on the way to an open carry event in Ohio. The 4 men were traveling to an open carry walk in Detroit when their car was involved in an accident with a semi. 3 men died on the scene. The 4th man was declared dead at the hospital. The semi driver was also hospitalized. The hosts and staff of the Polite Society podcast extend condolences to the friends and family of those patriots.
Amen.
Darn it.
And not much you can add to that other than, we keep up the fight in their name.
Yep.
It is a small gun world. We first read a blog called Learn About Guns about 8 years ago. Eric Perrier is the author. He went to school in Illinois and now lives and works in Davenport, Iowa. He's a lawyer and an NRA pistol instructor. As you'd expect, he encourages people to responsibly own and carry firearms. Now, Eric also has his own law practice, and of course, Eric pays his employees. He pays them extra if they get their Iowa carry permit and carry in the office. That fact was written up in an NRA news article. The NRA story was picked up by a local TV station in Davenport. They interviewed Eric and his staff. Lawyers in many towns would be afraid if it were publicly known they carried a firearm. We do this podcast so the ownership and possession of firearms becomes a safe and ordinary event. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric, for protecting your partners, staff, and clients and making gun owners a trusted part of the community.
I'm going to see if we can have him on the show.
Sounds like a great idea.
Sounds like fun, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I hope he can come on.
Speaking of making guns accepted and ordinary, let's take an elementary school to the range. An elementary class from Colorado City, Colorado went to the range last year with Project Appleseed. The students were back at the range last week. The first 2 days of the 3-day class covered stories from the Revolutionary War. Reenactors in colonial-era costume demonstrated the tools and skills used during that time period. Lessons on firearm safety included examples of different firearms and how they worked. The third day was spent at the shooting range, where all of the students got the chance to fire rimfire rifles. Of course, the day started with a safety briefing. Some of the kids had never shot a rifle before, let alone handled one, so it was an exciting experience for them. There was one significant problem this year. They only had space for half of the students who wanted to participate. That's a good problem to have, and I hope they have more than one event next year.
Isn't that neat?
I think it's absolutely great.
Now,
yes.
Do you remember also it was the Centennial Gun Club in Denver, Colorado that said, yeah, let's have a training day for faculty and staff at public schools. And they had to move the event to a hangar because they were just overwhelmed. I think they had like 500 participants. Okay, so they vote Democratic but are gun owners. Good. I hope there's 1,000 more educational events like this, and they hang on to the right of self-defense in Colorado.
You know, before I was on this show and I was a listener, Styx used to pump the apple seeds really hard, and let me just step in and take over there because it's really well, it's really an amazing event. It's not just shooting, and rifle shooting here in Illinois is way more unique than other parts of the country, I understand, but it's not just shooting rifles, which is a great thing for people to experience, but the lessons learned, the information shared by the instructors is very important. And I just think that if you have the chance, it's cheap. It's really cheap. And if you talk to an instructor who's giving a class, most of them have extra rifles they will loan. If you're into it at all, you probably know somebody who has a Ruger 1022 or something like that, which is perfectly acceptable to shoot at an Appleseed. And it's really it's a 2-day experience that is worth 10 times what they charge. It's a great experience.
I would like to say the gentleman that writes our show notes, Charlie Foxtrot, put a post on Facebook. He built a Appleseed rifle. Well, he started with the 1022 and built a specific rifle that he's going to be using for Appleseeds. And man, I'm jealous of that rifle. That is one nice piece of work he's come up with. Susan and I do plan on doing Appleseeds here coming up. They haven't released the schedule for South Dakota yet. They have three of them every year, but they haven't got the Appleseeds schedule for South Dakota. At least the last time you looked, right, Susan?
Right. They do have several in Minnesota. They have a couple in Iowa and one down in Nebraska, but they do not have any scheduled yet for South Dakota. I've been keeping an eye on it.
Aren't they waiting for the snow to melt?
Done a week and a half ago.
And the mud's dried up.
Yeah, the mud.
Whoa!
The lake the muddy lake that is right outside our house. Every year when we get snow melt, that's all gone away too. So now we just have quicksand.
Hang on one second, guys. I'm just checking because last year in Illinois they were here almost every month.
You know, I really don't have an excuse because they have anywhere between 1 and 3 events per month in North Carolina. Plus, they have the mothership in Ramsor.
All right.
There is one. I just checked. There is one in South Dakota, May 2nd and 3rd in Hot Springs.
That's a bit of a haul.
It's about 400 miles away on the other side of the state.
Yeah. Oh, Illinois is closer. Come here. There's
you're not quite that close.
There's 2 in April, at 2 different locations. There's 4 in May, 1 right now in June, 1 in July, August, 1 in August, 2 in September, and 1 in October. So, plenty of opportunities in Illinois.
For Susan and I, the months of May and August are absolutely out.
As is June.
Okay. Yeah, June is pretty much out too because we had a couple of things. But yeah, we're going to get it done this year. It's just a matter of when. We may have to travel a little bit. Minnesota's got a bunch of them. So
Minnesota has 3 in April, 2 in May, 2 in June, 3 in September.
Yeah.
Iowa has a bunch of them. We can go down and see your relatives and get a free place to stay. So.
Well, we also talked about maybe going down to Texas and doing one where Rachel's instructor.
True.
So. Well, we are going to go ahead and step aside to break, and since I'm going to be melding all this in with the George doing the gun quote, we'll just hit stop on the recorder. And DGUs, and minor thing, guys. Please hold until Susan's done reading before putting pictures in, because it really screws up the screen. She can't see where it auto scrolls for her, and she is way off. That's why the stumble at the end of that story. Are we ready to go into DGUs?
I'm ready.
Jump. Yeah, and by the way, I think that's an old picture. Whoever posted it in.
It says 2015 on it. No?
I'll go check the. Okay, read on, Susan.
Okay, and John, you haven't brought us in yet this show, have you?
I have not.
All right, you're up.
In 5. Hi, and welcome back to the DGU segment of the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Susan, what's our first DGU today?
A disabled Florida veteran protected himself and a pregnant woman from 2 attackers with his firearm. Coming to the aid of a pregnant woman when she was pushed, Joshua Anderson of Port St. Lucie, Florida, earned the anger of 2 vagrants. The men threatened and pushed the vet too far. They continued to threaten even after he warned them that he had a gun. Fearing for his life, Anderson shot both men in the torso. Under Florida's Stand Your Ground law, the disabled veteran was within his rights to shoot his assailants. As Martin County Sheriff William Snyder sees it, Anderson clearly acted in self-defense and will not face any criminal charges. His attackers are both in critical condition.
I would like to ask our listeners if you would be prepared, if you've seen somebody giving a hard time to a pregnant lady, starting to push her around, would you have the training, and would you have the intestinal fortitude to step in? Good on this guy, a veteran, a disabled veteran at that.
Despite the power of a no-gun sign and the full faith and credit of the federal government's many gun laws, a U.S. post office in Amphill, Virginia, was robbed by 2 gun-toting suspects. The robbers got away in a dark green SUV or pickup truck. It's not known at this time if the truck was registered.
You know,
that plastic sign just must have gotten dirty, I guess.
Yeah. But the U.S. Postal Inspectors and I presume the FBI are going to get involved because these guys are looking at federal time.
Yeah.
If they're found.
That's a big if.
Well, it's not like you pissed off Barney Fife and Company, you know?
No.
Yeah.
An invited house guest stopped 4 uninvited house guests from completing a home takeover robbery. In the pre-dawn darkness, 4 robbers kicked in the door of a Joplin, Missouri home. A few minutes before, they had done the same thing nearby, holding a .45 auto to the head of a terrified homeowner. This time, it was different. The house guest was armed, willing, and able to resist. 1 robber was shot in self-defense. The other 3 ran off, but were arrested later that day. They will be charged with their accomplice's death under Missouri law. Please consider the guest to be a victim of the home invasion and do not expect to charge him. Jeez, our guests only drink our good beer.
Well, you know what? Maybe you ought to make sure that you say, before you can get loaded, you must be loaded. Nah, you can't drink and carry.
No.
You know, this reminds me of a case that's been going on for years in federal court in Illinois. A lady from Ohio who visits her friends in Illinois frequently had applied for a FOID card and was denied. She didn't want to, it wasn't that she wanted to carry, she wanted to be able to legally have a gun in her possession while visiting her friends. So,
yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder now, is that where is that lawsuit at? Do you remember?
it is in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of Illinois. It's Masaga versus whoever is the current head of the Illinois
Madigan?
State. No, Illinois State Police head.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Because the name has changed because of that over the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can't remember his name. I don't like it.
A Tulsa, Oklahoma robber learned a powerful life lesson that most of us learned very early on. Don't torque off the old guy. Doug Jandeber, 84, was leaving his business Monday night when a robber surprised him from behind. The thief slugged Jandeber in the face and stole his wallet. He then left the victim standing and moved toward Jandeber's wife in the truck. Big mistake. Big. Jandeberg said, quote, I pulled out my automatic and was getting ready to ventilate him. Once he saw my gun, he decided to leave, end quote. As the thug's face was captured by surveillance cameras, his life lessons will probably continue when the cops catch up with him. Seasoned citizen Doug has some wisdom for us all. Quote, anybody who doesn't arm themselves is asking for trouble, end quote.
Yeah, don't talk off the old guys, especially the veteran type old guys. They don't scare easy. 84, I'm guessing he was Korean War.
Korean War is what I would have said.
Yeah, and if the Koreans didn't get him, you'd think a young punk is going to.
Yeah.
I used to fly with a guy. He, at the time, was an aircraft and power plant mechanic. He'd been in the Army, airborne, and reported missing and presumed lost to his parents. In fact, that particular day he was incapacitated and unable to be on the airplane that disappeared. But this guy, we swore he had his adrenal gland removed. Nothing would, I mean, this guy could laugh and giggle, but it was always kind of toned down a little bit. This guy he wasn't cold, but he was in control in a way that impressed me. I can certainly say that.
This next one isn't a DGU, but it is a powerful lesson and an important reminder on why we carry. In a brutal reminder that violence can come at any time, James Stolman, 51, was shot and killed while walking his dog. He was shot down not far from Philadelphia's anti-gun Mayor Nutter's residence. His three killers were hardly in their teens. Even at that young age, they had already been in trouble with the law. Authorities said the three were just looking for a victim that night. They attacked Stolman because he seemed like an easy target with his small dog. Stolman pleaded for his life, saying, "Please don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me." But he was shot in the chest. The three juveniles ran off without taking any of the victim's possessions. 15-year-old Typhine Hamilton turned himself in early Friday morning. Brandon Smith, 15, and a third unnamed boy are also in police custody. Hamilton and Smith will be tried as adults. The 14-year-old will be tried as a juvenile. As tragic and senseless as this act was, it could have been worse. Stolman often walked with his 13-year-old daughter. A CCW may or may not have made a difference here. However, most people would have desperately wanted that option. It's a shame that Mayor Nutter is working so hard to deny them that choice. The listeners may also ask why this story has gotten so little attention in the media, as it is a true hands up, don't shoot situation. Stay safe out there.
I believe you can carry in Philadelphia. I mean, certainly if you have a permit from the rest of Philadelphia, and I think people in Philadelphia can apply for and receive their carry permits.
They can.
Yes.
What bothers me most about this one is the age of the attackers, 15, 15, and 14. It's almost like there's a generation out there that was escaped from Lord of the Flies. They have no feelings, no compassion, vicious.
That's very well put. That is very, very well put.
Once again, I don't understand how anybody with a brain can hear that story and say, disarming good people is a good idea.
Yeah, how was he supposed to then call the cops and when the event was over, have the cops come save him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've interviewed criminals in jail. They don't want it. They have interviewed criminals in jail.
Right.
And they don't want resistance. They don't. And the more potential people for resistance, why are there so many more criminals in Chicago than other parts of the country? Because they know there's no resistance.
The cost of doing business is low.
Right. The risk is low.
And we could see this at some point in time come up. The anti-gunners like to use crimes, to say, well, these kids shouldn't have been able to have guns. Well, guess what? It's already illegal for 15, and 14-year-old kids to be in possession of handguns.
It's called gun violence. No, these guys could have used a machete. They could have used a baseball bat. They could have used a hammer. It's like somebody was saying, I think on our show last week, we were saying, why are they called gunmen? Why are they not called knifemen or hammermen or axemen?
Yep.
They're criminal killers.
Exactly. And violence is violence.
Yeah.
The tool is irrelevant.
The quote I saw today said, yeah, we should pass laws so that criminals won't get guns the same way criminals don't get drugs.
Yep. Love that one. Love that one. Well, I want to remind everybody we do post links to each of our news and DGU articles at politesocietypodcast.com. Please take a minute to share them with a friend. As well, we do now break up our show into segments, and you can share individual segments, such as a DGU segment, with a friend if you are just interested in that. We're going to go ahead and step aside to break. We've got email to talk about when we come back, and we'll get to that email right after this. Okay. Susan, do you want to read that email, or do you want me to read it? Do you want somebody else to read it?
Doesn't matter.
Can I breathe heavy?
By the way, John, I don't know if you heard. I don't know if I talked about it while you were yeah, go ahead and breathe heavy at the appropriate time. But I'm going to out the person that was really responsible for that, and
it was me.
No.
Yeah, we're going to surprise you with it.
It was
you weren't there.
It was Gary Harpster, and that's a big part of the reason why we're no longer there. So, all right, I'll just go ahead and throw it to you then, Susan. And coming back in 5. Hey, and welcome back to the email segment of the Polite Society Podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Susan, we got one email this week. You want to read it?
It is a big one, and I will be more than happy to do that. This week's email was sent in by Charles in Kansas. Guys and gal, just finished listening to episode 317, and Kathy Jackson was great as usual. I've been a listener for quite some time, 3 to 4 years. I was in the politics and guns camp myself. Y'all are part of a long list of podcasts and among the favorites that I download every week. A couple of things, and you do not need to read this over the next podcast if you do not wish to. Who is that heavy breather? This is the 4th or 5th episode that I have someone breathing in my ear, and it is not Sweet Nothings. If I was to point a finger, I would say it's John. Sorry, John. But it's certainly not Rachel, and Rob was gone on episode 316. I noticed also quite a bit of background noise this episode in particular. Have you all gone to a more sensitive microphone? May I lightheartedly suggest backing away from the mic or using the mute if you're not actively commenting, especially during the times when it is just one of you interviewing a guest. Though I am a veteran listener, this is the first time I have reached out, and do not want to leave without some positives. I consider Polite Society Podcast part of the new media that bucks the traditional methods. Podcasting has become a force of its own. Just look at Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. His weekly radio program is now producing a 4th hour, just for podcast listeners, where he brings on his behind-the-scenes producers and call screener to have a 30 or 40-minute roundtable. Being 47, I grew up in the late 70s and 80s reading gun articles from greats like Masad Ayub, may the gods preserve and pickle him for eternity, John Taffin, Ken Hackathorn, Elmer Keith, from older magazines I found in my father's garage, and a long list of others. Comics and gun magazines were tucked between the pages of my history books. I'm glad we are where we are now, in this new era of digital media. I applaud you, Polite Society, and many others getting out there and pioneering this new territory for my informational and entertainment enjoyment. Though everyone may not be as polished, I find you certainly more earnest than traditional print. You keep producing the episodes, I'll keep listening. Thanks for the hard work. Charles Cherry, Kansas.
Well, thank you for writing in, Charles. And I can honestly say you will probably, and I don't want to say definitely, but you'll probably never hear that again. What you were listening to is a major reason why we are no longer with ABN. I don't know how far I should go with this, but I will say that came as an artifact from ABN. I noticed it. I was unable to filter it out, and I was unwilling to dump the Kathy Jackson interview because of it. There was just too much good stuff there. I do thank you for writing in, and goodness, don't let this be the last time, man. Some great comments in there, and we do work hard, and we appreciate you letting us know. Anybody else want to comment about that?
Yeah, if you hear good things you like, if you hear flubs that you find annoying, we try and listen for QC, but your voice is persuasive, so let us know.
I am not the world's greatest editor. I flat run out of time. As a matter of fact, if people notice on episode 318, I screwed up the intro. And I said, oh, man, I'm out of breath. I need another cigarette, and then retry it again.
And
well, I didn't. What I do when I edit is I listen for the beginning and I listen for the end. And I didn't remember that I had screwed up. So I caught the beginning. I heard the beginning. So then I just shot to where I thought the end should be, found the end, did my post-production work with that, and I put everything together and came out to the right time frame, so I ran with it. Just because I was running out of time. This show was supposed to be out on Wednesday, and it wasn't yet out on Friday when I was working on it. So I was really trying to get this, and so a screw up made it on the air. It's going to happen from time to time, especially when I got to be honest. I work 70 hours a week. I put another 15 probably hours into the podcast every week. In between different things I try to get done, and sometimes things slip. So
I would say that the bloopers prove that we're human.
Yeah, they do. I would prefer it that they weren't there, but we're going to have, and for listeners, I don't know if I've mentioned this yet. I didn't put it in the show notes. We're going to have a special episode coming up. We are not doing live. We're not doing regular episodes in the middle of the week anymore. And so what we're going to be doing this week, though, because we've got 2 interviews. We've got Doc Wesson and Gary Slider of handgunlaw.us. We really want to get those interviews out, but the other great problem we have is we got a lot of people that are scheduled for interviews coming up. So what we're going to do is we're going to put out a episode on Wednesday that's just those two. Well, one of them's 30 minutes, one of them's 45 minutes. Just those interviews. No news, no DGUs, none of that other stuff. But I'm sorry, I glanced down at the show notes, and we'll get into that in just a second. But I guess wrapping all this up, please, thank you again, Charles, for writing in. Charles, for everybody that doesn't know, has been helping me out with the Great Plains Second Amendment Society Facebook page. He does do some posts from Kansas, and I appreciate that. And who wants to take this next part of the show notes?
Well, let me just insert that if you whatever you use to listen to podcasts, they all have some sort of subscription feature. Subscribe to the show. Then when Paul decides to insert a couple of extra interviews that he has that are backed up, you will get them. You won't miss them. So just subscribe, whatever service you're using, and you will not miss an episode or any extra information that Paul has to throw out there.
And get your friends to subscribe. Definitely. We'd love to keep growing the show. We have, by the way, guys, since we started segmenting the show, our downloads, believe it or not, are stable, even though we've gone to one show a week. So, now it looks like we have a note from Dr. John Dean. He says, I've signed up for the Appleseed in Fredericksburg, Texas, April 17th and 18th. Paul and Susan, come on down. I've done an Appleseed with Rachel as a shoot boss. It's worth the trip. April 17th and 18th. I don't know, sweetheart. It's, what, about 3-4 weeks away?
Yeah.
That's going to be tight.
And it's the weekend right after. Well, you're going to be in Nashville.
I'm not going to be in Nashville. I cannot swing that this year.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Well, Dr. Dean, have a great time with that Appleseed. I kind of doubt Susan and I can make it down to that one. We got a lot of stuff going on, but and that would be Fredericksburg, Texas. That would be a bit of a haul for us. But
I don't know, man. We meet Dollheart one day.
I know. Yeah, we left when we went down to SHOT Show. We left Sioux Falls at 4 in the morning. That night we pulled into Dollheart, Texas to get our room for the night. It was 13, 14 hours later that we stopped the car.
You know, we're going to be in Phoenix in September.
Yes.
There is one, looking at the page, there is one in Fredericksburg, September 26th and 27th.
Which is?
Going to be, when is GRPC? Is it the weekend before or the weekend after? I can get the time off work. Can you?
I get all it depends for me getting time off of work is whether we got the money to pay the bills that they're going to come when I don't have money coming in checks. So. All
right. Well, we'll discuss this off the air further.
Okay. All right. We do want to thank Charlie Foxtrot. He writes up the show notes for us. Even though you don't hear him on the air, he is a big part, and I mean a really big part of what you do here. That does wrap up another episode of the Polite Society podcast. I'd like to thank the ladies from the Second Amendment Women out of New Jersey for joining us today. Of course, thank you to George Hill for joining us today. We're going to be doing that special episode on Wednesday, but next weekend is everybody. Rob, you going to be back for next weekend?
I will.
How about you, John?
I'll be here.
And Gary, you going to be here next weekend?
Check.
Awesome. I'll be here. We're not quite sure about Rachel. She couldn't be here today. We're trying to make some things work out, but hopefully soon we'll have her back on the air. So that does do it for this time, everybody. Until next time.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
The views and opinions on the show you just heard are those of the host and the guest and are not necessarily the views of any sponsors or other affiliations. But hey, not everyone is as smart as we are.
And before we go off the air, I do want to again mention our advertisers, Concealment Solutions, Crusader Weaponry, New Jersey Second Amendment Society, and the Firearms Safety Institute. Please do go check our show notes, frequent these people, because without them, we wouldn't be here. I could not afford to run this show without the income they provide. Thank you again, everybody, and we will see you next week.